Is it time to end your relationship? How do you know if you should move on? Are you in a relationship and wondering, is it time to end it all? How do you know if it's over? On the one hand, it might not seem so bad that you should end it, but on the other, maybe it's not good enough to really want to stay in it. How do you know when it's time? Many men that I've worked with get stuck in this process. It's like quicksand, pulling them deeper and deeper, slowly draining the life out of them. I've seen so many guys in relationships that have died long ago, and yet they're still trying to give it CPR. It's time to take control. It's time to make a decision in your relationship. Either go all in or give it a proper burial. Today, I'm going to give you 4 questions that you can ask yourself about your relationship so that you can evaluate and make a good decision on whether to stay in and work on it or to let it go. But before I get into that, let me ask you a favor. Please boop the like button, hit the bell, and if you're not already a subscriber, just do the one click and do that too. I sincerely appreciate it. So how do you know if you should end a relationship? Well, for one, if you're asking the question in the first place, it's probably a good idea to evaluate what's going on. Because no one that I know that's in a great relationship asks the question, I wonder if we should break up. Here's something to really consider about relationships. A relationship is just like a living organism. And like any organism, there's a growth process. There's a start, a birth, a maturity path, and then there's the death. And just like a living organism, some relationships live longer than others. Some die at birth. Some die young. Some live well beyond the expected lifespan. A relationship can be a healthy one day and then get a disease and die the next. But you can also do things to help your relationship live longer. But in the end, the relationship will end because on a long enough timeline, one person in the relationship is going to leave, and that will end the relationship. Because your relationship is just like a living organism, your relationship can get sick. But with the right medication, it can get better. Without the right medication, the relationship dies. Some relationships are in stage 4 cancer, and there's little that can be done but to try to make the death as dignified and painless as possible. And then there are times when you have a cold, so it eventually will get better on its own. The point is, just like a doctor would diagnose an illness, we have to diagnose our own relationship. So I'm going to give you 4 questions that you can ask yourself to help come up with a diagnosis. Should you stay and work on it, or is it flatline and you need to call it? The first question you want to ask is, how long has it been like this? How long have you been in this relationship where the symptoms are coming up? Symptoms like unhappiness, separateness. How long have you felt disconnected in the relationship? Sometimes you can feel like roommates instead of lovers. If you're feeling that way, how long has that been going on? If it's been months or years, then that can give you a pretty good indication of the chances of survival. That doesn't mean you can't turn it around, but again, it's just a diagnostic tool to use to ask yourself, is there something here in this relationship that we can save? The second question is, how do we treat each other? Consider how you talk to each other. I once had a couple I was doing counseling with who argued all the time, and they would come into session and they would fight and they would argue and they would name call. And then at one point they said, we need to learn how to communicate better. And I told them, you guys actually communicate fine, but you communicate that you don't like each other very much. If you're in a relationship where you argue frequently, where you treat each other with disrespect, name calling, if you show contempt, if your relationship is just hostile, it's a good chance it's going to die pretty soon unless you change the culture to one of gratitude and appreciation. To change a culture is practicing speaking words of kindness, compliment each other, be thankful for what the other person brings into your life. And if you can't do that, if you can't change the culture, staying together isn't doing anyone any good. In other words, talk to your partner like you like them. Question number 3, are you getting your physical and emotional intimacy needs met? Affection and physical intimacy are crucial in a romantic relationship. So if you're in a romantic partnership, it is based on the elements of sex. And sex is like a barometer to let you know how healthy the relationship is. Now, some would probably argue that your relationship isn't about sex, or it shouldn't be all about sex. But it is. Because if your partner had an affair, you would see how quickly it is just about sex. A monogamous relationship is the only relationship in which you have sex. If you're not having sex in that relationship, then it is not a monogamous relationship. So if you're not having sex and your partner isn't interested in it, there's a pretty good indication that the romantic relationship is dead. The fourth question is, are you afraid of ending it? You want to ask yourself if you're afraid of ending it, because fear should never be the reason why you stay in a relationship. If you fear the other person's reaction, or you stay because you're worried they will get hurt or they'll get angry or they'll lash out, then that relationship is really in trouble. Now, of course, people are going to grieve, but if you stay in a relationship simply because you're afraid of the other person's reaction, that's not a good relationship. That's a codependent relationship. That is a hostage situation. Because here's the thing, if you feel trapped, stuck, and unable to get your needs met, you're going to end up resentful, angry, and you're going to act out in unhealthy ways. Sometimes you got to rip the Band-Aid off and make a decision. But if you choose to be in a relationship, seeing value in it, then you're not going to question or have fear about ending it. And the worst thing you could do is stay in a relationship that ended long ago. It's not good for anyone. It's not good for you. It's not good for your partner. And if you have children, it's not good for them. On the flip side, the best thing you can do for yourself, the best thing you can do for your partner, and the best thing you can do for your children, if you have children, is to feed and water the relationship and keep it healthy. Keeping your relationship alive, thriving, and growing is a really great thing to do. To do this, though, you have to tend to the garden of the relationship. Spend time together. Talk about life together. Make plans for the future together. Explore deep sexual experiences with each other. Talk nicely to each other. Treat each other like the person that you deeply value. Let them know that they're important. Practice affection, physical, emotional, spiritual affection. Make your relationship a priority, because if you don't, it will die. But if it is dead, don't spend a lot of time arguing with reality and just give it the proper burial. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, check out the one I did on a sexless marriage. It's never a good thing. Overcoming a sexless marriage. I'll put a link right up here. And tell me what you think. Are you in a relationship that's dying or one that's thriving? Let me know. And with that, I'll see you guys next time.